Hi there, it's Jenny from Ginger Ninja Crafts, and I am here today to do a little flip through of my Woolly Steph Art Club art journal so far. So it is the 30th of November, it's St Andrew's Day, and so tomorrow I think we're due the next prompt, but I am actually up to date. So I thought I would do a quick little flip through and then I can hopefully start doing the prompts as they come in because I was late starting and then I missed a few and I had to go back and so yeah, so I'm up to date as of what time is it? 5:30 on the day before the next prompt. Yes, I feel like I've achieved something. Anyway, it's a whole mess, my desk, so I have cleared a tiny little corner and I'm going to rearrange you and show you what I've made and do a little explanation. So I hope that is of interest. Thanks for watching. Okay, so hopefully you can see. So I followed Steph's tutorial for making this little album. And I will link that in the description. And basically she has a whole load of prompts that people suggested, and I think it's the 1st and the 15th or thereabouts. She picks a new prompt for us. So let's see if I can remember them all because I've stupidly not brought my little list out. Hopefully I can. So this first one that I did, I think I might have made a video of, and it was summer, I believe. And I made this page using pixie powders for the sort of base, and then I used, I think it was gelatos, a blue one and a yellow one, through a stencil to create this effect, and then I turned that into a kind of sun and used a bit of stamps here. So there's a butterfly and a couple of flowers. I had like trimmed them down already. And then I just put a little bit of blue gelato around the edge, and there's a couple of little sequins on there, and a little Tim Holtz wordy. Then the next one was nature, and I believe that these stamps are from Bee Crafty, very appropriate. So there's this giant bumblebee. I'm a fan of bees, but I think I might freak out if one this size started flying towards me. And I believe that I also got the honeycomb stamps of different sizes from the same stamp set, and I did all that on a page of paper that I just kind of splodged some ink, like re-inkers. So the liquid ink, I just kind of splodged it on and sprayed it with water, and that was the base layer for that one. And I added a little bit of kind of shimmer to the wings and a bit of gold to the body, and then there's a few gold splatters, and again some Tim Holtz words. What would I be without Tim Holtz words? The next theme I remember was Halloween, and this one I made with a couple of bits of different pattern paper. Last year I did a Halloween swap with Rare Crafts, and so this is from, she made me a lovely embellishment box, so there was a lot of little strips of sentiment, so I've got that one there. It's just a bunch of Hocus Pocus, and these were I think these are Tim Holtz stamps actually. There's the witch's hat, the broomstick, and the pumpkin, and I just stamped them on some scraps of paper that I had around. So I think the purpley one was some pixie powders, this was some sprayed, and this was sprayed as well. So that was my Halloween. Then I've got winter was this one. So I masked off a bit of this, and I used my when I bought my brushes, they came with these wax resist sticks. I think you could probably just use like if you had like a white candle, it's just white wax. So she tips it all over So I decided that I didn't have blue brushes, although I have ordered some more. But I decided these would probably work with the pixie powders and as well, because it's essentially the same thing, just without the pixie powders. I've got the mica. So I drew a couple of trees here and a tree here and a little house, and that's meant to be a little moon. And then I drew in the snow line there. I masked this off, and then I added a lot of colour here with pixie powders, and I used the black one and the sort of bright blue, is it called midnight blue or something, and I sprayed water on it and did a bit of dabbing, and I smooshed it a bit, and then I kind of just built up the colour, and then the snowflakes I did with some bleach. So this is just an old skincare spray bottle, so I think I put about that much of bleach in it, and the rest was water, and I just sprayed a little bit on my mat and took a really old paintbrush that I don't mind if it gets trashed, and kind of dipped it in it, and then just kind of knocked it so that I got some splatters of ink, of the bleach, and as you can see, it's lifted the colour really nicely. This one I think I have spoken about previously, but maybe not. Maybe I just did it on Facebook. This was the steampunk one, and I used the steampunk stamps from Julia McNeil Crafts. You might know that I'm on her design team, and so I have quite a selection of those, and I love her stamps. So this background, I did some inking. I think it was the Faded Jeans and the Blueprint Sketch, and maybe some of the Stormy Skies or Stormy Grey, something like that in the middle. And then I heat embossed with different kind of metallics. So this is a kind of spiral of like different screws and things, and then there's some of these what do you call them, cogs. So I did them in black and silver, and this was a kind of coppery mix from WoW. And then also in the back there's just some kind of circles and sort of screw kind of things, and these flowers were in the steampunk collection too. And so I stamped and fussy cut them, coloured them in with alcohol markers, and I even did a little bit of heat embossing here and there too. This one here is Quirky, and I kind of struggled to come up with what I was going to do for it. So the background was in a big pile of papers that I'd made. So it's made with bubble wrap and pixie powders. So I kind of scattered the pixie powder onto the bubble wrap, spritzed it with water, and then pressed paper on it, and you get this lovely effect. And then I just added some white gel pen to make it look like bubbles. I did a little bit of inking around the edge, this bit, because it was very white. I stamped on some sort of leafy bits that are meant to look like seaweed, and then I downloaded these fabulous fish, which surely are the perfect definition of quirky. These are from Vera Lane. They're I think she's called Janet Klein is the artist, and Vera Lane has an Etsy shop, and she also does a lot of the all stamps, the AA, is it AALL? Anyway, I've got a few of the physical stamp sets as well, but that Etsy shop of digital downloads is dangerous, because you can just go on there and browse, and for £3 you get a digital stamp set or thereabouts. So yes, so I have just coloured in a few of those, and the beauty of the digital stamps is you can do them whatever size you need. So I made them quite small, fussy cut them out, and then I've just added the if you're lucky enough to be different, never change. So that was for Quirky. The next page is Bloom, and this I did with again, a Julia McNeill Craft stamp set. I think it is the Dotty Daisy. So you get this big daisy, and then I don't know if you can see the white flowers in the background, which I've heat embossed in white. And then I heat embossed bloom in gold. And then I kind of smooshed it into different colours of Distress Oxide inks. So I had a kind of couple of pinks, a couple of blues, and a sort of yellow, and the cracked pistachio a bit. So I sort of built up my background, I added my flower, and I gave it an extra sentiment. And then I just did a little doodling with some of these Jelly Roll metallic pens, which I really like. So I coloured in some of the dots and added a few little freehand flowers. So this was for floral. This one was birds, and this was on a napkin, and I had already glued it onto a bit of cardboard, and then I'd glued like the napkin, and then I'd not done anything with it. So I fussy cut that out. I had to, I think it's like a swallow. It had the kind of tail, but I couldn't quite fit that on, so I had to cut those little bits off. Does anybody else feel bad when you do things like that? It was a bit like, oh, I've just cut some wings off a bird. I added, this was another little scrap of background, so it was just a bit of inky, I think pixie powder paper that I'd mopped up any extras I had. I added a bit of stenciling for these little circles and added some white gel pen, and then this was a little background stamp of some more little circles with a few little stars. Added a little scraps of music paper because for the sort of bird song, and then this is a stamp that says always take the scenic route. So that was my bird. This one is vintage, and that's something that I very rarely do really in terms of crafting. So I had a bit of a dig through my collection, and again in my pile of kind of papers that I've had a bit of a experiment with, I had a bit of a kind of old vintagey style napkin that I had glued onto a piece of book pages. So that's what the base of it is. And then I don't know what I've done, there's a bit of kind of silvery stuff, so I must have like rubbed something silvery on it. I added a bit of kind of vintage these sort of pen nibs and this black ink. I fussy cut that out. I had this stamp of this smart chap with his wee boater hat on. So I stamped him on, and I added a little bit of detail with the gold gel pen, and then I just popped a little bit of lace on, and the words timeless treasure. And then another one that I kind of struggled with was childhood, or children, I can't remember. Child, maybe. So I was having a bit of a dig around. I had this little scrap of paper that I'd just been playing about with acrylic paint, and I think I'd been stamping it with like a stamp block. You know, you can maybe just about see there's some of the grid lines. And then I found this little picture in a magazine of a little girl, so I cut her out, and then I just added some heart stenciling in the background. It's just done with white ink, so it's quite subtle, and I've added a little phrase because I was a big fan of Roald Dahl books as a child. So this quote says, "Those that don't believe in magic will never find it," by Roald Dahl. So that kind of felt like the magic of childhood to me. So that is that one. This one was fairies, and this is another Vera Lane stamp. This is one of, it's a physical stamp from the All, and is it All and Create they're called, I think. So I stamped her and coloured it in. I've added a little bit of detail with the metallic gel. Her wings are on a sort of iridescent vellum, and I've heat embossed them in gold, and I've given her a little, I did a sort of paper piecing with a bit of patterned paper for her dress, and a little sort of scenic sky for her to fly along with, and it says "Shh, fairies." And then we're almost up to date. So this one was numbers. So what I did was I took 3 different die sets of numbers of different sizes, and I cut a whole load out just in white card, and then I glued them onto my square of white card. So it's just white on white, and I used this multi-medium matte, which is nice because it doesn't make it glossy. And then I covered it all in white gesso once it had dried. So I don't know if you can see, they're kind of, some of them are upside down or on their side. And then I just took a whole load of sprays that I had and kind of built up the spray. So I think there's orange, blue, green, pink, and maybe a little bit of purple, and I kind of dabbed it up, so I didn't let it sit. I didn't let the colour get too intense. And the green is a tonic one, which has got a bit of mica, so that gave it a kind of nice sheen. And I just decided after I'd done that it was kind of busy enough with all the die cuts on it that I'm not going to add any more to it. And so yeah, so that was it. And then this most recent one is doodling, and I did a video about this at the weekend where it showed me doodling away to my heart's content. So as I say, there's a space for the next one, and I can always stick another little section in if need be. But yeah, that is my little bookie. I think I could fit more in there, couldn't I? That's my little bookie so far. It's been such good fun, and it's definitely challenged me to try out different things, have a good search through my stash and dig things out. Like, I've never tried the bleach before. That was a new technique, and it was the first time I tried the resist crayons. And yeah, like the doodling and the vintage were things that I don't normally do. This one made me think quite a lot. I have a few sprays, and I don't really use them very often, so that was great to do that. And what I was thinking, as I was just taking a wee look through to remind myself before I did the video, I was thinking it's quite a nice little selection. If I'm feeling like my crafty mojo's gone, I can just have a wee flip through and go, oh yeah, like building up the stamping, or why not don't I do a bit of this, or, you know, kind of different techniques and styles to shake things up a bit. So thank you very much to Woolly Steph. I'll link her channel, and I'll also link the video where she made the little bookie, and there's no pressure to do every prompt. You can dip in and out at your heart's content, and this is the hashtag that you can share your makes on Instagram or on YouTube. And yeah, it's been really fun, and it's lovely looking through the hashtag and seeing how people have interpreted the prompts so differently. So many different ideas and creative approaches that people have got, so it's great. So I will leave you to it, and I will see you all hopefully before the weekend, or maybe at the weekend, for another video. So take care everybody, have a lovely night, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye now.